Hi there. You're listening to Norway Next, a podcast by Visit Norway, geared towards the modern travel mindset. If you are going to a Norwegian city anytime soon, this is the podcast for you. Picture this. You wake up to the sound of seagulls and pull back the curtains to reveal a beautiful sunrise. A few moments later, you find yourself walking in a picturesque neighborhood of interconnected white wooden homes. You follow the scent of something freshly baked and delicious, and you step into a warm and cozy bakery and decide to pick up some cinnamony pastries for breakfast. Pastry in hand, you go outside into the sunshine and keep walking past rows and rows of idyllic whitewashed historic houses, all with perfectly manicured front steps and beautiful flowers. You stop to take in the view and slowly inhale the salty sea air. This is heaven, or as we like to call it, Kristiansand. I am Beate Gran from Visit Norway, and I couldn't be happier to welcome Mona Konuralp from Visit Southern Norway. Not only does she manage sustainable travel projects for Kristiansand and Arendal, the two largest cities in southern Norway, but she's also a former colleague at Visit Norway and a local expert on Kristiansand. In addition to that, she's a yogi, and she's got some really cool suggestions for how you can breathe your way through the south and truly unwind in her region. Namaste. So now, let Mona guide us through the Norwegian Riviera. Mona, Southern Norway is often referred to as the Norwegian Riviera, and why is that?
Yeah, that's true, Beate. And the description, the Norwegian Riviera, we have to go back, way back to the 1930s. Actually, that was when it started. And at that time, we didn't have any tourists in southern Norway. But tourism had just started to pick up. And the people of Kristiansand, they wanted to have tourists to their region. So when they did the first profiling campaign in the 1930s, that was when they used that description, the Norwegian Riviera. And actually, it only took a couple of years, and tourists from Oslo region started to visit our region in the summertime to enjoy the coast, the city, to swim in the sea. And since that time, we have been the number one summer destination for the Norwegians.
So interesting. I didn't know that part of the history. So I happen to know that you are a yoga teacher, and wellness is so top of mind as travelers are coming out of the pandemic. And we see that people are more and more seeking out wellness-type experiences. And from your perspective, what does Kristiansand have to offer within that space?
Well, wellness, that is not just spa and treatments, but it is also very much as we see it and how we experience it from our visitors, to get away from the crowd, to find more space, and to be in the nature. And, you know, sitting at a rock, looking out on the sea, that is calming. Or when you have a walk through the forest, that also reduces stress. So for us, wellness, that is nature therapy. And, you know, picture yourself. You wake up in a treetop hut. It's quiet, and you only hear the birds singing. I mean, that is true wellness.
And so many Norwegians even associate the southern region of Norway, or southern Norway, and Kristiansand with vacation. I mean, shoulders down, relaxing with your family, or, you know, having a romantic stay or something like that. So before we go deeper into what you can see and experience, we're going to play a game of yes, yes, no, Basically, 2 truths and 1 false statement, and we'll say the 3 things, and our listeners will guess which of the 3 is the false one. So, here we go. A, you can actually meet real pirates in Kristiansand. B, one of the world's most unusual McDonald's restaurants is located in downtown Kristiansand. Or C, a member of the Norwegian royal family comes from Kristiansand. And keep listening because we'll reveal the answer later in this episode. Now, let's dive a bit deeper. And I'm curious, Mona, what are the top 3 attractions or places a first-time visitor to Kristiansand cannot or should not miss? Are there any surprising ones that mostly only locals know about?
First, I would recommend a walk through our beautiful city. The city center is called Kvadraturen, and it forms a square with straight streets. And it was actually designed that way by Kong Kristian IV. The city center is surrounded by water on 3 sides, and you have the forest on the 4th side. So when you start your walk through the city, you start at the seaside promenade towards the city beach, and you will pass small boat harbors. And then you continue to Posebyen, and that is our historical part of the city. Here you find the largest collection of white wooden houses. And then you continued through Markens, which is our shopping street, and to the city square, where you will find the cathedral. And one of the other things I would recommend is to visit the fish bazaar and do like the locals do, pick up a bag of shrimps and sit on the quayside and watch the small boats go by and enjoy the shrimp. And if you don't know how to peel them, you ask the fishmonger. They would really like to teach you. How do you do it?
That's like really the symbol of summer, sitting at the pier in Kristiansand eating shrimp straight out of the bag, isn't it? Ah, wonderful. So for someone who wants to go off the beaten track, are there any specific things you love personally or can think of that may give someone a more authentic experience? Essentially, what kind of things you like to do on a weekend?
Well, my day, then I would fill that with nature, hiking, some good food, and culture. So I would start the day with a hike at Odderøya. The island of Odderøya is just off the city center. It's connected to the city center with 2 small bridges. And on the island, you will find many trails, beautiful viewpoints, and it has been a military area, so it's also filled with historical sites and cannon positions. So it's an interesting walk. But I would sit on a rock and just take in the beautiful view of the sea.
So what would you do after the hike?
Then I would head back to the city center, and it's lunchtime. So I would go to one of the bakeries. You know, we have many bakeries in Kristiansand, and we are known for the bakeries. So I would pick up a sandwich, a shrimp sandwich, maybe, and end off with a cinnamon bun. And then I would visit Kunsthallen. It's a contemporary art institution. It's located on the top floor on our library building. Beautiful exhibition spaces. And what's so wonderful up there is that you have these big windows, and you look out on the treetops and to the city cathedral. So just to sit there, enjoy the art and the scenery. That is so calming. And this is right in the middle of the buzzing city center. In the evening, I would do some more culture. I would visit Kilden, the theater and concert hall. That is our main performing arts center in Kristiansand, and actually for the whole region. It houses the Kristiansand Symphony Orchestra and has a lot of great concerts and also theater productions throughout the year. So when you visit our city, I would also recommend to come not only in the summertime, but in the autumn, winter, spring. That is also when you can experience these great cultural performances.
And doesn't Kristiansand have a great Christmas market? I haven't been myself, but I've been wanting to go for years. Can you describe that?
That's right, Beate. We are boosting to be the prettiest Christmas town in Norway. The whole city is decorated with Christmas trees. And we have a Christmas market at the city square where you can buy local produce Christmas cakes. You can bring back home homemade gifts. And there is also an ice skating rink close to the city market.
What about a longer round trip? How can a visitor spend 3 days or even longer in southern Norway using Kristiansand as a base? Any suggestions you can touch on here?
I would definitely recommend to take a boat trip to explore the archipelago, which we are so famous for. So hop on a boat from the city center in Kristiansand to one of the islands to go swimming in the summer, of course, or take one of the sightseeing boats to Ny-Hellesund, a coastal outport. Have a lunch there, go for a small hike and maybe a swim. And these boat trips, I must say that they are only operating in the summer season.
So other things that you can do in the region, I know there's a well-known attraction, which is the southernmost point in Norway, Lindesnes, a lighthouse, and now also harbors the world's largest underwater restaurant located there. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That is Under, the underwater restaurant. It opened in 2019, and it's a spectacular building. It was designed by the architecture firm Snøhetta, who designed the Opera House in Oslo. And what do they serve there? Seafood, seaweed, kelp, shell, what they harvest from just outside the restaurant and also from the forest. This restaurant got their Michelin star 2 years ago and is open all year. And very close to Under, you will find Lindesnes Lighthouse, and this is the southernmost tip in Norway. The lighthouse can be visited all year, as well as Under, of course. And being here on a stormy autumn day is also amazing.
I can imagine. Now, from the restaurant, what is that experience like? Can you actually see marine life from your dining table?
Yes, you have a large panoramic window, and there you see the life in the sea.
Wow, that's awesome. So basically, you eat what you see.
You do. Another thing you can do all year round is to visit the other towns small villages along the coast of southern Norway. We call them the white towns of southern Norway. And what is common for them all is these small white wooden houses and cobblestone streets. Cozy, charming are the words I would use to describe it. And for me, I sometimes take a day trip to the village of town of Grimstad, for instance, just to do something different. It's a different city, different shops, restaurants, and I just take in the atmosphere. And it's easy to travel along the coast by public transportation.
So we've talked a lot about traveling around along the coastline, but what about inland? What do you see and experience there?
Inland, you will find the valley of Setesdal. And this valley has a long tradition for culture, especially for a silver smith. So when you visit this region, I would recommend to visit one of the workshops and bring back a unique piece of jewelry. But not only culture, this valley is also known for a lot of activities. So here you can experience whitewater rafting. You can go hiking in the mountain, or maybe climbing via ferrata.
Setesdal is also the cradle of Norwegian folk music, folk traditional costumes, bunads, a lot of things that to Norwegians is so typically Norwegian, right? A lot of history there.
You're right, Beate. You mentioned the folk music, the costumes and the dance. And this was actually listed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. And this is something you can experience when you travel through the Setesdal Valley.
And how do you get to Kristiansand from abroad? And also, what is the best way to travel around in the region?
We are connected by train from Oslo. So you can travel by train from Oslo and from Stavanger. And if you travel from abroad, you can take a ferry from Hirtshals in Denmark or Eemshaven in Holland. And traveling around in our region, I recommend to travel by public transportation, by bus. And you can also rent a car if you want to stay longer and go on a road trip. And of course, we have an international airport if you want to fly directly into our region.
Great. So here's an interesting question that we've asked some of our other guests on Norway Next. If Kristiansand was a person, how would you describe it?
Oh, I would say friendly, maybe a little laid back, fun to be with, and someone who would surprise you. And Kristiansand would be your friend forever.
Wow. So is there anything that the listeners should have on their radar for the coming year?
In 2023, the new art museum, the Kunstsilo, the art silo, will open. The Kristiansand Art Museum just shut their doors, and now they are packing down their art and will move into this new building. It's a former grain silo and has been converted into an art museum, housing 3 floors and a large exhibition spaces. So it will contain the largest actually collection of Nordic art. It will have digital art, lectures, concerts, workshops. So this is really something we are looking forward to.
What a great contribution that will be to Kristiansand, and that will attract, I'm sure, many international audiences interested in performances and art, like you said. Great. Mona, we are so happy that you could join us today. Thank you so much for sharing so many awesome travel suggestions for Kristiansand with our listeners. And now we'll reveal the answer to the yes, yes, no quiz. To repeat the 3 statements where 1 is false. A, you can actually meet real pirates in Kristiansand. B, one of the world's most unusual McDonald's restaurants is located in downtown Kristiansand. Or C, a member of the Norwegian royal family comes from Kristiansand. So, for those who didn't know this, there is a McDonald's in Kristiansand and it's located in a former bank building, and it looks quite impressive for a chain food restaurant. And Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway is indeed from Kristiansand. So that means that A is the false one. Well, partially false, because you can actually meet pirates in Dyreparken, which is Norway's biggest and most well-known zoo and family theme park. They're just not completely real pirates. However, you can experience a pirate show and enjoy a ride on a pirate ship, and there's something for the whole family to enjoy. So shiver me timbers, doesn't that sound like fun? Now you know. That wraps this episode of Norway Next. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you'd like to learn more about today's episode, you can check out visitnorway.com/podcast for more on travel to Norway. You will also find us on all social media platforms as Visit Norway. So make sure to follow, subscribe, share, and love. And thanks for checking out our podcast.